Hey everyone, welcome back. If you've ever been curious about Gramercy, Louisiana, and how it's tied to the sugar industry, well, you're in for a treat today.
Oh yeah, we're going to dive deep into the history of this Louisiana town, specifically by looking at the Colonial Sugars Refinery historical marker.
Which tells a story not just about the refinery, but really about how Gramercy itself came to be.
Exactly. So, are you ready to hear what this marker has to say?
I am.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so the marker reads, founded in 1895 by a group of financiers from Gramercy Park, New York, on a site called Faubourg-Lapin.
First operated as a sugar mill to process sugarcane from Golden Grove Plantation.
A refinery was built in 1902 to supply granulated sugar to the U.S. market.
A company town, Colonial Sugars provided housing, schools, church, store, and recreation.
Owned by the Cuban-American Sugar Co. for 52 years.
Dr. George P. Meade, co-author of Cane Sugar Handbook, worked here for 37 years.
Purchased by Savannah Foods in Indiana in 1986.
First operating sugar refinery in the United States to be on the National Register of Historic Places.
Whew. That's quite a bit of information packed into a single historical marker.
It really is, but there's so much to unpack there.
Like right off the bat, the fact that the refinery was founded by financiers from Gramercy Park in New York City, that seems like a bit of a jump from the bustling city to rural Louisiana.
Right. But you have to think about the context. Sugar was a hot commodity back then, and Louisiana was primed for sugarcane production.
With all that fertile land and the perfect climate.
Exactly. So for those New York financiers, it was a prime business opportunity to capitalize on that growing demand for sugar.
And they weren't just content with just building a refinery, they created an entire town around it.
Yeah. A company town, as the marker says, Colonial Sugars provided everything. I mean, literally everything.
Housing, schools, a church, even a store and recreation facilities, it's all in there.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. They built a whole community from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been quite a different way of life back then. The company basically controlled every aspect of their employees' lives.
For sure. And while it might seem a bit stifling to us now, back then, it probably offered a certain sense of security and stability.
True. Now, another thing that caught my eye on the marker was that the refinery was owned by the Cuban-American Sugar Company for over 50 years.
Oh yeah, 52 years to be exact, and that's a huge chunk of the 20th century.
Definitely a time marked by so many changes both in the U.S. and Cuba.
Absolutely. And the sugar industry was actually deeply intertwined with the relationship between the two countries. This refinery in Gramercy is a direct link to that complex history.
Fascinating. And speaking of connections, we can't forget about Dr. George P. Meade, who spent nearly 4 decades working at the refinery.
Oh yeah, Dr. Meade, the co-author of the Cane Sugar Handbook, that's some serious expertise right there.
It really is. It just shows you how much knowledge and technical skill went into sugar refining.
Totally. It wasn't just about brute force and labor. There was science and engineering behind it. They were constantly innovating, trying to improve the refining process and the final product.
And it's no surprise that the Colonial Sugars Refinery is the first operating sugar refinery in the United States to be listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Absolutely. It's a testament to its impact not just on Gramercy, but on the entire sugar industry in the U.S.
It's incredible to think that this one industry, sugar, shaped the identity of an entire town.
A town which, according to the 2020 U.S. Census, has a population of just over 3,000.
3,188 to be exact.
Wow. It really makes you think about how closely tied Gramercy's past and present are and the lasting legacy of the Colonial Sugars Refinery.
So the next time you find yourself in Gramercy, Louisiana, take a moment to imagine what life was like back then. Picture that bustling company town built around the sugar refinery.
Imagine those workers. Imagine Dr. Meade himself walking through the refinery.
It's a reminder that even the smallest towns can have incredibly rich histories.
And that those histories are often hidden in plain sight.
So if you'd like to hear more stories like this one, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.